Welcome to the Gutenberg visual changelog. With each Gutenberg release, I'm going to sift through some of the changelog items and share them visually with everyone. My hope is that this will provide a much needed visual understanding of the new features with each Gutenberg release. While I may not touch on every changelog item, I'm hoping to call out the bigger visual changes and interactions. But before we get started today, I wanted to talk about how WordPress 5.5 is very close to release right now. And with 5.5 comes a new admin color scheme called Modern. And the reason I bring up this color scheme is because Gutenberg 8.5, which we'll be reviewing today, provides the ability for the color scheme to integrate into the editor. So let's check that out. I'm going to switch to the Modern color scheme. We see that it's a lot more contrast here. Let's update my profile and jump into the posts. I have a Gutenberg 8.5 draft post that we can fool around with to explore what features have been added to 8.5. The first one that I want to talk about is really interesting. For those of you who write your post in an editor of some sorts and then copy over the images and the post into Gutenberg later on, you'll notice that your images could never really be saved. You had to manually upload those. Well, with Gutenberg 8.5, there's a interim fix right now. So let's take something that's written here in Google Docs. Notice it has an image, includes an image. I'm going to copy everything here, come back to the editor, paste it in the editor. And so I've got this image. In the past, I would have had to download that image and then upload it to WordPress. But with Gutenberg 8.5, I now have this upload external image button. It recognizes that this is from an external image, and I can choose then to upload it to my media library. Image uploaded. And now I can edit the image as I would any other image from my media library. That's a really cool feature addition. Another addition is the gallery block has been updated to include an edit button. So if I select a few images that I want to put into my gallery, I can now edit the image rather than having to delete it. I can just edit this image and, oh yeah, I wanted to grab another one. So let's put that one in instead. Notice here that the admin color scheme did carry over in much of the UI, which is really clean looking, but there are a few areas it did not, like in the block itself, and it looks like in this range control component as well. Might be missing it, but look, it's looking very sharp. Another feature that I wanted to talk about today is the drag and drop feature. As you know, that drag and drop has been worked on in Gutenberg immensely lately, and I wanted to show you can do a multi-select and then still grab those two blocks. See how the chip says two blocks now, and move it around the page. As I move closer to an edge, the faster the scroll goes. So if I'm scrolling slowly, it scrolls faster. And I will drop these back into the page here. They got added. If I select these blocks, I can move them up where they were, I believe. Image editing. Let's talk about image editing. That one's a really great addition that came in an earlier Gutenberg version with the crop tool, but now notice that the zoom tool is integrated into the toolbar and no longer part below the image here. We still have the aspect ratio and the ability to rotate images all here now. So if I zoom in a bit and apply, it saves my image there for me. The block directory also had an update. If you're familiar with the block directory, if I type in a block that I don't have, and I know it's in the block directory, it'll show up here, and I can add this block directly to my page. The cool thing is that all the images here are still recorded on the WordPress CDN, and which is a great addition there. The transform menu has been redesigned. If you remember, when you would click this icon here, you would get a grid like this oftentimes of the blocks that you can transform to. Now it's a list, which is much more easy to scan. We still see the various style options for the block that we're in. Also the canvas inserter, right, if I click that, has been redesigned. So I get my recent blocks here and a browse all button. And this browse all button now takes me back to the panel where I can select other blocks to add. I will also note that I have a reusable block saved, and it now is a tab in the inserter panel here. So if I add my reusable block here, and I should be able to edit the name and see this name change right here in the reusable tab panel. Let's see, another really cool feature is the spacer block, which got an update. When I drag the height of the spacer block, I now get a tooltip that shows me how the pixel height of this element. The UI has seen a few updates. The save draft and preview buttons are now similar in their interaction, whereas before the preview button had a drop-down arrow indicating that it was a drop-down of sorts. Now it's just a simple button like this, similarly to how all the other icons work in the interface. So it's great to see that consistency throughout. The buttons block also got an update. If you remember when you had your button and you added a link to the button, if you wanted to get rid of that link, you had to delete the button and add a new one back. Well, now we've added an unlink option, which just removes the link from your button. We've also cleaned the patterns list here, so that these are ready, just about ready to merge into core. There's a few changes that I see haven't come over yet, but it's very close. And finally, we have also added the pull quote option to the transform tool for blocks. And that, I believe, covers all the major enhancements that I wanted to talk about. There was an additional feature added to 8.5, which is really cool, is that all static blocks now come with an advanced HTML anchor. So you can link to these through a native table of contents that could jump down to each of these paragraphs, or using some sort of footnotes to jump down to paragraphs that are later in the post. A great new feature for Gutenberg 8.5, and that, I believe, covers all the visual changes that I wanted to talk about today. So thank you, everyone. Bye now.